Hi, this is Green Philosophy. Today I'm going to be sharing with you ICE is the prototype for America's corporate police state by Shahid Bolsen. I edited these statements for clarity. It brings me less anxiety because his analytical framework gives us a sense of what the future will hold, and that reduces my anxiety. I hope that it reduces your anxiety as well. So here we are. This is my executive summary. The state has not failed to regulate ICE. The state chose to look the other way. Deregulation is still regulation. The state is regulating away its authority within the affairs of business. The state is regulating the abdication of its own authority. The Trump administration shut down Department of Homeland Security, DHS, oversight, offices that investigated abuses that took place in ICE custody. In America, the state has no right to impede profit. This is the final stage of private sector capture. The capture of an institution itself happens when it starts to dismantle its own power in complete capitulation and surrender to capital. The United States government is captured, defeated, and subordinate. Private sector capture is more than corruption. The state no longer holds the monopoly on so-called legitimate violence. The state is just the broker of outsourced violence. The elected government of the United States is no longer accountable to we the people, if it ever was. The government is only accountable to shareholders. The United States is no longer a democracy by any definition. The United States is a cartelized security regime draped in constitutional vocabulary. The United States is a model for post-state governance. This isn't just a case of privatization. This is the template for how captured states are going to govern in the 21st century. They identify immigrants, dissidents, protesters as a threat. They monetize their containment. The United States post-state government outsources enforcement, eliminates transparency, and justifies everything with security. The post-state government of the United States funnels all proceeds to shareholders. We are seeing the transition from public government to corporate dominion. ICE is just the prototype. Education, healthcare, the police, even war have begun the same transformation. The United States is no longer in control of America. The United States is being controlled by those who brutalize the state. They build the state to brutalize the population in America, which is state capture. State capture of the United States by corporations over the government has now been consummated. If you in the United States are not resisting, you are colluding. If you are not protecting those who are being targeted, then you are just rehearsing to play the same role as everyone who is going to ignore you when you are targeted next. If you are not trying to shut down the machinery of the United States, this abuse and oppression, you are standing in line and waiting for when it's your turn to be abused and oppressed. The moral high ground in California belongs to the resistors. The moral high ground in the United States goes to those who are hiding undocumented families. The moral high ground goes to those who are forming human chains around ICE vans. The moral high ground goes to students who are exposing the abuses of ICE. The moral high ground goes to lawyers who are fighting in court. The moral high ground goes to citizens who are trying to pull funding from deportation airlines. Why are you asking, is this legal? You should be asking, is this just? Legality is always the last refuge of tyranny. The powers that be will always find a law to justify their crimes, and they will say they were just following orders. Justifying crimes with the law and saying that members of the regime is what every country did that needed to have a Nuremberg trial. ICE is a modern-day Gestapo of a privatized police state. ICE doesn't exist to protect we the people. ICE exists to protect the corporate order from we the people. ICE is an agency of fear. ICE is an agency of separation. ICE is an agency of erasure. ICE are marauders. You are their loot. Your resistance should exist. The structure you tolerate today is the structure you will be buried under in the future. When ICE comes for the undocumented migrants, if nobody stands against them, they are going to come for the rest of you. And there won't be anyone left to file a lawsuit on your behalf. Leftists are loud about the oppression in the global South, Africa, and the Middle East. The United States is spiraling into a dictatorship. The United States is spiraling into authoritarianism. The United States is privatizing violence. ICE policing are really marauders and mercenaries. A replaying of colonial slavery is happening. The colonial masters came to the United States and they are raiding you. You better do something about the United States spiraling into dictatorship. But I don't think you will. It was talk when leftists preached to the global South, the Middle East, about democracy and human rights. It was all talk. It doesn't matter now when you need it to matter the most. There's a reason leftists were never taught to mean it. Corporations intended to subjugate the citizens of the United States. Leftists are completely unprepared. Leftists are completely vulnerable. Leftists are completely powerless. Leftists are completely defenseless. And these are the highlights of Shahid Bolsen's ICE is the prototype for America's corporate police state. I look forward to your questions and comments.